Not lengths. You can now put people in timeout for different lengths ranging from 10 seconds to 24 hours. Okay, got it. All right, this thing should be going right now. So, I want to talk about a few things. I know this is Jaimie Builds, but I'm going to talk about some building stuff. Although, one of the things I want to talk about is I think I want to go back to one channel. Because like I had some reasons before for splitting my channel into two channels, but those reasons have pretty much dried up. So now I kind of want to go back to one channel. Maybe I'll keep the other channel just in case I want to talk about something that'll get me banned from YouTube or whatever. And then that channel can be my sacrificial channel. Anyway, Direct Energy Smirk. How's it going, man? Okay, the second thing I want to talk about, that was just a real quick thing. Second thing I want to talk about is I just came up with this robot design. So I've been thinking about making a new giant robot. You know, many years ago, I made this giant robot. It was the Giant Robot Project. It was a super fun thing, and it was something I did in my spare time. So it took years to do. I just worked on it whenever I could, and it was super fun and cool. And I've been dying to build another giant robot since then, for a lot of different reasons. I mean, one of the big reasons is by the time I got halfway done that giant robot, I'd already progressed the design like way past what I was building. So I was just kind of like, well, I still got to finish this one. But now I've got, yeah. Anyway, so I've been thinking a lot about building like a giant robot, like one that I can, like a house-sized robot, you know, or at least big enough that I can get in it and have a little bit of space, you know, kind of like my cargo boat. You know, I can get in my cargo boat. I could sleep in that thing. I could go places and camp out in it for a while. Like I could live in that thing. You know, I want to build a giant robot, like a big thing, right? So I've been thinking about designs in the back of my head, and then whenever I go to sleep, I'll just lay there thinking, oh, if I do this and that and make this, and just going through all these designs, right? And the funny thing with my brain is that the more I think about it, the more I think about it. You know, it's like one of those things where I get some momentum and I just really start thinking about it and coming up with all these ideas. Anyway, I came up with this idea of how to make a robot recently. It was like yesterday actually, and I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff here. This is basically all the information I need to build this thing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff missing, but I understand in my brain what all this means and blah blah blah. But I'll just leave this up here for a second. Here, I'll get a little closer. Ooh, stuff. And okay, I went over a lot of the stuff in pencil to make it darker so that I could actually show it on camera. Because usually when I draw this stuff, it's just like real scribbly because only I need to see it. But I made it a little nicer looking for you guys. So there you go. Anyway, so one of the big stipulations of building some kind of giant robot is it's got to be able to hold a lot of weight, right? So for example, my last giant robot, it was this spidery kind of thing, and the way it was designed, one of my kids is just staring at me now. Anyway, the way it was designed, like the moving parts, the mechanisms in the middle had to hold at least 3 times the entire weight of the machine, right? Because just the way the levers worked and everything, it was, the leverage was working against the mechanical parts. I shouldn't say against them. It was making it so the mechanical parts had to move a short distance, but had to be really strong. And then out at the end of the arms, things moved further and weren't as strong. So the mechanical parts had to be really strong. Like it had to be able to hold 3 times the weight of the machine. So one of the design parameters of what I'm trying to make now is to make something that where the moving parts don't have to hold multiple times the weight of the machine. So this design here, the mechanical parts have to hold 1 times the weight of the machine or less. I could actually do it less. So the mechanical parts could hold like 3/4 of the weight of the machine. Of course, I'd make it so they could hold, more than that. But like, the less of the weight that's on them, the easier it is to build, right? And you know, I don't have some giant factory here to build like anything I want. So it's really good to keep the stresses as low as possible. Anyway, so I came up with this design here that involves a bunch of complicated stuff. But one of the weird things is that it leans whenever it goes around corners. And my first thought was like, well, that's not useful for a giant thing that's going to be lumbering along slowly. But it would be great for like a little robot that can go like really fast and go around corners. And since it leans into the corners, that would be a good thing, right? It would help with the maneuverability and the stability and all that. So, but then I also came up with some ways to maybe mitigate that so I could use it for a giant robot. But either way, I kind of want to make a small one now because it would make a really cool small thing that would be a little robot that would walk really fast and could go zipping around corners and stuff. So I think I need to get a 3D printer soon. So if anyone has any suggestions for 3D printers, I asked about this like a month ago or something, and I got a few suggestions. The leading ones in my head at the moment were a Prusa 4X, I think it was.
Prusa 4XL.
A Prusa 4XL? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
All right, my 11-year-old remembers. And there was this other company called Elegoo. I'm pretty sure that's what the guy told me. That makes pretty cheap 3D printers, like way cheaper than the Prusa 4XL. But then there was another one, the Snap something.
Snapmaker?
The Snapmaker, which is expensive, man. But it looks really cool because the Snapmaker, you can 3D print. You can also laser cut. Like, you know, I could get little sheets of wood, which I could cut on my lumber mill, right out of, I have unlimited material for that. Like I have logs, I have a lumber mill that can cut thin sheets accurately, nice smooth surfaces and everything. And if I had a laser cutter, I could cut out pieces for that. And I could design this thing and a lot of different things to work either with a 3D printer or a laser cutter. Either would be fine. And then the other thing the Snapmaker does, it also is a little CNC milling machine, which is kind of cool. But that one's really expensive. I don't think I can get that. But what I'm thinking of getting is just like a pretty basic but reliable 3D printer that'll do a good job on PLA. I don't need any fancy materials because I just want to make some prototypes of something that I'm going to make bigger. And before I ever had a 3D printer, what I used to use a lot was popsicle sticks. Popsicle sticks and coat hangers. That's when I was a little kid and I didn't have like access to anything. I used to, like when I was your age, I made so much stuff out of popsicle sticks and coat hangers. Oh man. My mom was going crazy wondering where all the coat hangers were gone. Because like what I do is I would go to the front closet. There was this front closet that was just packed. I lived in Canada, so it was packed with like winter coats and stuff. And it was packed tight enough that like things were kind of stuffed in it. Like to get a coat out, you kind of had to pull it out, and to put one back in, you kind of had to like push the coats apart, and they're squishy, you know. You push apart and get the thing back in, and it all like kind of holds itself. So I would go in there and I would find a coat hanger that was the right diameter. There were 1/8-inch diameter wire coat hangers, which was the more heavy duty coat hangers. And I had an 1/8-inch drill bit. I had one drill bit and that was it. And it fit that size coat hanger. So I'd go to the front closet and find one of these coat hangers, and whatever was on it was usually some big heavy coat. I would take it off and I'd find one of the crappy coat hangers and hang it on it. And it wouldn't, the coat would just like bend that coat hanger. But since there were so many coats in there and they were kind of like packed in, you know, I could spread them apart, stuff it in there, and just it would hold it. So at some point after I'd used up like a dozen of these good coat hangers, you know, then winter comes and my mom goes into the closet and goes to pull a coat off, and like 4 things just fall on the ground. Is that where you're getting all these metal wires from the coat hangers? Anyway, she also helped me track down popsicle sticks, which was great. Oh gosh, I remember the first time I got like a big thing of coffee stir sticks. You know, popsicle sticks, you get like a little package for like $10 or something, and they're all perfect, but they're expensive, right? But you get coffee stir sticks that are the popsicle stick size, and you get like a thing like this for like $2. And a few of them have knots, and a few are crappy or whatever, but like 90% of them are perfectly usable. So that's what I get. Oh, so excited when I got a whole thing of those. And man, gears, if I could ever find gears, gears. Oh, that's all I wanted when I was a kid. If I could have had a 3D printer and just printed out gears. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I need to get a 3D printer because I don't have time I don't have time to start making a mess, making little parts. So I think I need to 3D print the what's it called? The parts for my prototype here. Oh, isn't that beautiful? This one I drew, kind of like giant size. So these are like little windows, so you could, come up in here and drive the thing. And this is solar panels along the top, so you could actually stand on the roof under the solar panels. And then inside there'd be like, standing room, like. And the way this one works, all the mechanical parts inside would either be in the ceiling or the floor. There might be a little bit in the middle, but like pretty much all in the ceiling or the floor. So, you could walk through. And anyway, yeah, I think I need to get a 3D printer to make this thing, even if it doesn't end up being a giant robot design. And I mean, a lot of it is I need to get that design made, or at least, yeah, I need to get like one prototype of it made, because this is the way I work. I come up with some idea for a thing, and then I don't want to lose it out of my head until I make one. And then once I make one, it's like, okay, I can completely clear that out of my head and then come up with a new thing. So maybe I'll be able to come up with a new thing, just having drawn enough that I could draw it. But yeah, I really want to get one made. There's another thing one other thing I wanted to talk about. This isn't a building thing, but since earlier I was talking about just going back to one channel anyway. What was it? Oh yeah, hate. Okay, so I get like, not a lot, but like sort of a regular stream of hate mail, right? And it's usually about things that I'm doing that are actually good, or things that I haven't actually done, And whenever I get this stuff, I'm just like, man, I'm like really trying. I'm like genuinely putting a lot of effort into trying to be a good person and doing a good job in the world, and being good to people, and all this stuff. But I'll get this hate mail. You're such a liar and a narcissistic prick and blah blah blah. I'm just like, well, I'm trying not to be, whatever. Anyway, and I see this kind of thing a lot. Like with other people I know who are trying to do good stuff in the world, and it all comes back to that stupid saying. We should never live by these sayings, but the stupid saying that's like, what is it? No good deed goes unpunished. We got to stop doing that. And this all reminds me of this one Doctor Who episode. Oh, hold on a second. I have some visual aids for this. Yeah, Doctor Who, right? So anyone who doesn't know what Doctor Who is, Doctor Who lives in this thing, which is not actually a police call box. It's actually this creature, space-time machine. You can go anywhere in space and time in this thing. So at some point, the Doctor, he's known as, he goes to this futuristic Britain. I think it was Britain. Maybe it was just London. But let's just say it was Britain. I'm going to get a bunch of details wrong on this, but the important information I remember. So he goes to this futuristic Britain, which is in outer space, and they're flying through outer space. They've left Earth and they're looking for a new home. This is like way in the future, right? And there's some kind of problem, like some kind of secret that's going on, and no one seems to know what it is. But there are these little computer stations throughout the city, or whatever you want to call it. And you can go into them, and it's a little booth, and you can go in. You have privacy, and you can learn the secret, the dark secret of the city. I'm calling it a city and Great Britain, whatever. Let's just call it the city of Great Britain, because it was whatever. They're flying through outer space, and so if you go in this room, the room tells you, and you don't find this out for a while, but the room tells you that, oh yeah, spoiler alert. So the room tells you that the entire city of Great Britain is flying through outer space on the back of this giant space whale, which they have captured and are torturing to force it to transport them to a new home somewhere far away. Like they're going for like years, decades, like they are on a big journey. So they're torturing this, they've captured this space whale, they've put their country on top of it, and they're forcing it to transport them to a new home. At which point, the person who learns this information has the choice of retaining that information and just living with the fact that their entire civilization is dependent on this horrible torture of this creature, this innocent creature, or they can have the last few minutes of their memory erased so they don't remember any of it. And so everyone who goes into this little booth goes in there and just gets their memory erased and walks back out because they're like, ignorance is bliss. I don't want to have to live with this terrible truth. Of course, a few of the people have to know about this. So, you know, they're the ones who just have to be the sacrificial people who just have to deal with the evil that they're doing to make it work. Anyway, the doctor, Doctor Who, the main character of the show, the guy who flies around in this space time machine, he gets there and he has this moral code. And he starts learning what's going on, and he ends up dealing with the Queen, and he's basically like, no, you can't do this. Like you can't do evil and expect good to come from it. It doesn't work that way. Like you have to do good to get good. And you know, it's a bit of a fight, and toward the end of the episode, the doctor finally gets to the point where he's like about to, like, basically, I don't remember exactly how it went, but I think the Queen was finally like, all right, fine, and whatever. They finally released this space whale so it could leave. And, you know, the Queen is just like, well, I mean, we're just gonna have to see what happens. We might all be dead 5 minutes from now. And so they release the space whale. They give it its freedom. And suddenly, the entire city and the space whale and everything are traveling like 3 or 4 times the speed they were going in the direction they're trying to go. So this damn space whale had been trying to help them the entire time. And they were torturing it, making it harder for it to help them. And that's what it feels like to do good in the world today. And it's really frustrating because, and I've had this conversation with so many different people who are trying to be good people and trying to have some kind of good influence in the world and trying to do good stuff. It's like there are constant roadblocks. There's all this garbage in the way that is totally unnecessary and makes life harder. And it would be so much easier to say, forget the whole thing. You know, I'm just going to live for myself and I'll just make a bunch of money and buy whatever I want and, you know, forget everyone else. I'm just going to be greedy and life's going to be easy. I mean, that would be so easy to do, but it doesn't lead to a good future. So anyway, I just want to say, you know, if you ever find yourself, and this is really easy to get sucked into because it's just part of our culture, you know, particularly like North America. Yeah, North America is probably the worst for this. You know, when you, and I've done this before. I've been sucked into this. Like when you see someone doing something good, it makes you, and you know you're not doing as good. It can make you feel like envious, and it's like, no, I got to chop that person down, and you know, what's the word? Kind of like minimize what they're doing, or beat them back, or try to make them seem not as good, or make them feel bad about what they're doing because they're making me feel bad about me not being as good. And it's really easy to get sucked into that. And if you ever find yourself doing that, just remind yourself, you know, we have to try to do good in the world, or else we won't get good. We won't get good. We won't get a good future unless we're trying to do a good future. You know, if you're not doing good things in the world, you don't end up in a good place. And a lot of people have ended up in points in their life where they're frustrated and angry, and they're like, what, I've done all this stuff I'm supposed to do. I've made money and I've hated people and I've clawed my way to the top, but I'm not happy. What's wrong? It's because you don't get a good result from doing something bad. So yeah, it's just, it's something to think about. It's one of those really important things that I think has been lost in our society, and really, we really got to work on that. I've been working on that for a long time. Whenever I see someone doing good, I always have two responses in my head. One is, why are they doing so good? And the other response is, good, they're doing good. And I always make sure I put the energy into, okay, good, they're doing good. Let me say something to encourage them or whatever. Okay, let me see what's going on here in the comments. Oh, and happy Halloween, everyone, for yesterday. We didn't do anything super spectacular. We did watch an alien movie. Anyway, woohoo, Jaimie in the morning. Yeah, I don't come on in the morning, but afternoon. I've been watching since the first Giant Robot. You're one of my favorite channels. Oh, thanks, man. Dreambot, wild Panama style. Hydraulic powered. I have thought about hydraulic powered thing, but this one isn't. This one is like all like low tech caveman, like cams and levers and gears and stuff. And the thing I really like about mechanical parts is that they're easy to fix. Like if I have a hydraulic thing and a hose ruptures or I lose a seal, like it's a precision thing. I can't just, I mean, maybe a hose I could tape around, but at some point I'm going to have to get a new hose. Or if a seal breaks, at some point I'm going to have to get a new seal. Or I guess maybe I could just stock up on that kind of stuff. But if a mechanical part breaks, like say a lever breaks, I can make a new lever or a gear or something. Like if a few teeth chip off a gear or something, like I can make a new gear. It might not be the easiest thing in the world, but I can do it, That's what I really like about mechanical things. And that's one of the reasons I kind of avoid integrated circuits a lot. I mean, not that I never use them, but like right now I have a bulldozer, an electric bulldozer up at the top of the hill that's real finicky right now. It sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, and there's something messed up in the electronics that I can't fix. Meanwhile, my little kid's car, my little car that's for my kids, it has a speed control that's just a coil of wire, like a resistance. It's just a coil of stainless steel wire. It's just a resistance coil. Works perfect, And if anything breaks with that, it's super easy to repair, super easy to fix. So, one of the big things I think about in terms of designing things like this that I want to have in existence for a long time is like, how am I going to repair it, or how will someone in the future repair it? And if I use hydraulics, I'm going to have to use like really standardized stuff and probably get backups of like the hydraulic pump and like backups of just everything, because things wear out and break. Oh, Mr. Landfill, how's it going, man? Danielle, okay, one of my 3D printer nerd friends has been talking a lot about Bamboo Labs new printers because they're cheap without being full of compromises. Might be worth looking into. I'm pretty sure I looked into Bamboo Labs. Bamboo Labs, wasn't that the one that I looked at that was like pretty expensive? But the problem with them, there were a few problems, but the big problem with them that kind of like really turned me off of their stuff was that they're not open source. So the thing with the 3D printers, and I'd have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure it was Bamboo Labs. But so, take this with a grain of salt or get confirmation or whatever. But I think Bamboo Labs, they're making their 3D printers not open source. And one of the problems, I mean, it's always nice to have things open source, right? For a lot of different reasons. But specifically with 3D printers, like so much research and development has been done on 3D printers by it just being open source and just people voluntarily giving input and putting, putting their effort into figuring things out and just sharing that freely, like just being open source. So much of the development of that stuff is from people being open about it, that I can't respect a company that's going to take that information that much of it came from the open source community and then say, okay, now we're closed. Now we've got what we want and we can make this cool thing and sell it. We're not going to let you know what's going on. And another problem is, it's harder to modify. It's harder to get modifications. It's just, once you close off that thing, it's not as good, which is why I would choose the Prusa 4XL over the Bamboo Labs by a lot. Let's see. Get one with auto leveling and nice system on it. There's a lot of cheap ones out there, but you would want one that just works when you need it. Yeah, I mean, I think the auto leveling is becoming pretty common now. The 3D printers I've had in the past did not have auto leveling. I just did it manually. It wasn't a big deal. So I mean, either way, I could do it if I have to. That's not a huge feature for me because I'm pretty do-it-yourselfy, so I can handle that. It's also quite different from material to material you use to get. Dude, you got to work on your typing. It's also quite different from material to material you use to get decent PLA. Oh, are you saying that you could buy crappy PLA or good PLA? Yeah, so when I was talking about PLA, at least in my previous 3D printer experience, I haven't done any 3D printing in a few years, but PLA didn't shrink like ABS. Like ABS is stronger, and if you're making something that you're going to use outside and it's going to get beat up a little, you probably want to go with ABS because it's tougher. But it shrinks. You while you're printing it, you gotta. There's a lot of warping issues and stuff, but the PLA doesn't shrink much, so it's a lot easier to print and get it to work right. And if I'm just building a prototype of something that I want to build with something else, then it's fine if it's not as durable, right? James Bruton, YouTuber, makes walking robots with 3D printer. Cool. Yeah, a good feature-rich budget printer and quality filament is the best combo. Good filament makes all the difference. Yeah, the printer my friend was talking about was the Bamboo Lab A1 Mini. Bamboo Lab A1 Mini. I'll have to look at it, but I'm not gonna. I'm pretty sure they're not open source, and I can't support that. I have a moral obligation. Jaimie, I saw what you can do from the confines of your parents' garage with the right a welder, an angle grinder, spark saw. I love spark saw. You're far more tools and knowledge where you are now. Anything's possible. Oh yeah, I mean, when I started the first giant robot, my skill level was like way less than now. It wasn't non-existent or anything, but like my skill, like one of the best things about building that giant robot was it 10 times all my skills in terms of manufacturing things. And then I have a lot more tools here, and I can make something way better now. At least you have a really good home base for building a shop now. Yes. Oh, I love this home. Yes. If you come up with a super gear idea, don't show it detailed so no one can steal your idea. I don't know. I kind of open source like all my stuff, going back to the open source discussion. Whenever I'm building things, I just show everything. The only time I didn't was the first giant robot. I was a little bit vague about how it worked because, I eventually got those made and put in stores, the toy robots. But generally speaking, I like to just put everything out there and I could make more money if I held on to a lot of ideas and then was always trying to capitalize them, and a few here and there I'd be able to make a lot of money on, right? But then a lot of other things would end up getting just buried and lost, and I feel like it's better to just kind of like open source share everything freely. So Yeah, I prefer to just share the designs if I can financially handle that. And I've been making enough money from people donating money and Patreon, and I do make a little bit of money on YouTube actually too, a little bit. YouTube is not as good as it used to be, but I still make a little bit. But anyway, I'm making enough money to be okay. Not a lot, but it's fine. Awesome call box, by the way. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't remember who sent me this. Someone sent me this. Nothing in it right now. I think if you turn it on, it has sounds, but I don't remember. I just leave it up on my shelf.
How do you turn it on?
I don't know. I'm grayed out. Why is? Oh, now I'm normal. Is this some story you came up with? Oh, you're asking me about the story of the Doctor Who. That was a Doctor Who episode. Okay, someone answered. Yeah, it was totally a Doctor Who episode. Do you know about how much travel expenses to you from the US would cost? Was just wondering when you mentioned the Adventure Builder meeting. Oh yeah, so on that, I might as well mention that here too. I used to have Adventure Builder meetings at my place in Vermont the week of May 3rd every year. And I haven't done one in a while, and I want to start doing that again next year. So next year, the week of May 3rd, whatever that is, I want to have, anyone who wants to come and just hang out for a week or just the weekend or whatever, anywhere in that week, come. And I'm building a campground. People can come stay at this campground. There'll be little cabins and stuff. I mean, you could also bring a tent, but I'm gonna set up cabins. And so one of my goals right now is to get that set up before, next May 3rd, so I could have this Adventure Builder meeting. I don't know how many people will show up because it's not the easiest place to get to. But when I used to do Adventure Builder meetings in Vermont, like people would come from like pretty far, like other side of the planet sometimes, which is cool. But anyway, how much does it cost to get here from the US? I don't know. Like once you get to the country, to Panama, it's less than $100. Like if you take the bus, I don't know, the bus is like, it's pretty cheap. I don't remember what it is. I don't know, like $20 or $40 from Panama City to here, if you do everything the cheap way, But if you fly from Panama City to the local airport here, that flight is like 100 and something or whatever. But I don't know. I'd have to look it up. If you look up flights from the US to Panama, there's an international airport in Panama City. I haven't flown in a long time, but I would always go to, websites where you can search things, and I would find that you could always find deals on certain days. So I just like keep looking around and put in different dates, and then suddenly it's like, oh, if you fly on this day, the price is like half what it is on all the other days, because I guess no one wants to fly that day or something. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if someone looks that up, they can put it in the comments down here. How much would it cost to fly from the United States? Depends where in the United States, because Florida to here is not very far, but Alaska to here is a lot farther. The issue with Bamboo Labs is they only print the best with their own filament. Oh, that's terrible. You got to use their filament. Oh, I don't like that at all. Yeah, that's true. Oh, is that true? Oh, forget it. Oh, that's terrible. Like, yeah, once they get, I hate that. They're getting too proprietary. They're like, you got to use our stuff and we're not going to share and mine. No, forget it. I'm not dealing with that company. I mean, I'll look it up to confirm that information is correct, but yeah. In regards to the the Baba Yaga comment, they actually have a video game called Quest for Glory on PC. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it before. It's an older game. Quest for Glory does sound familiar, but I mean, like, I like to play video games, but not that much. Like I'll play a game and get really into it, but like maybe one per year, because I don't, like on an average day, I don't play anything. And yeah, you know, I don't play a lot of time.
Hey, Jim.
But every once in a while, I'll wake up at like 3 in the morning and I can't sleep, and I'm just like, well, let me play something for 2 hours. Hold on a second. What's up, dude? We're gonna go pretty soon. My son is asking me when we can go work on the campground because I think we're all excited about making this campground. I've been talking it up pretty big, and we found like a good spot that's like way up on a hill, and there's this big plateau. Yeah, it's a really good spot. Although we're gonna walk around the property. It's like 25 acres, so there's a lot of space. So we're gonna walk around before we start, you know, doing that part of it, and you know, just find a really good spot. But yeah, there is definitely one really good spot. Filament is arguably the most important part of a printer. You know, when I used to do like toy industry stuff, I was going back and forth to China like once a month. I don't know, for a couple of years or whatever. And when I was there, I asked one of the engineering guys, like a guy who runs an engineering firm. I was like, hey, where can I get cheap filament? So, you know, a few days later, he's like, all right, come, we're going to a thing. So we went to some factory and I bought the cheapest, it was like 20 pounds of the cheapest filament. I mean, by far, like 1/10 the cost of normal. And I got it and it printed great, smelled terrible. I'd have a fan going in that room to just exhaust it, but it printed great. But yeah, the smell was no good. I'm guessing that's had something to do with why it was so cheap. But this, anyway, doesn't matter. I wish you would sell those spider tanks. They're only available in other countries and I never got a chance to get one. Really? I can't sell them. I don't have them. I did give out the 3D CAD files for them a few years ago. You could print one. I've printed one from those. I couldn't print the gears because the details were too fine. I had to buy some gears, but like, actually some of the gears you could print. They're a little bit bigger. But anyway, I think you can get them on eBay or something. At this point in time, I actually have no spider tank robots. None of them made it to Panama. Well, one made it. It was just too damaged to, you know, to get working. Oh my gosh, what is this? Hold on, a little piece of information just came up that's telling me new pinned chat. Now you can pin a message to the top of your live chat for viewers to read. Click any message to pin it. Use the option. Okay, whatever. I don't care. I wish you would sell those spider. Yeah. You know, before I worked with a toy company, I was working on making spider tank kits that were just laser cut wood. And I got the first prototype done and I was like halfway through making the second prototype, which was coming out amazing. Like the first prototype totally worked and someone bought it and had it for a while. But anyway, the second prototype I was making, the first one I made out of laser cut plastic, which is stinky. But the second one I was making out of laser cut, like skinny plywood. And that was coming out like so cool looking. But right in the middle of getting that done is when I started working with a toy company. So that kind of got put aside. And I did the thing with the, you know, where they were sold in stores, all the standard, you know, manufactured in China and all that stuff. But yeah, it would have been, maybe I should get those files out so people can 3D print them. Not 3D print them, laser cut them. If I get a laser cutter going again, I'll probably finish that design. I just had a few more, I don't know, maybe half the parts to finish drawing on the second prototype, which would probably be almost exactly the same as the first prototype. Anyway, I was just doing little tweaks to make them really good. But anyway, yeah, I don't have any of those to sell. I have an Ender 3. This is a 3D printer. I never use it these days. It was one of the cheapest printers available when I bought it. Is it good though? The first giant robot had polycarbonate plastic parts. I think it should have been metal parts. I think I replaced those actually. Didn't I replace those with aluminum things? I don't know. That was a while ago. I'm going to start digital nomading next year. and Bocas del Toro is on my list of places to check out. Maybe I can drop by and say hi at some point. Well, yeah, man, send me a message. My email should be right down here. Yeah, give me a heads up, and maybe I can meet you in town, or you can come out here, or whatever. Yeah. Nalis Sola says, maybe I should print one and give to my sister's children. Forgot the English word for it. You forgot the English word for your children's, your sister's children? No, that's not what you meant. Anyway, don't need to use proprietary filament to get good prints with the bamboo, in my experience. Plus, super fast prints and multi-filament is awesome. Drawback is price. Yeah, the price was mighty high. And then just, yeah, the open source, closed source thing, that's like, I can't support that, you know? Like it might be really nice and convenient right now, but it doesn't make for a better future if I support that kind of thing. Oh, also default settings on the bamboo make like perfect prints right out of the box. Yeah. Okay. It looks like I'm at the bottom of comments, and I shared everything I wanted to share. Here, I'll show my picture of this again. Ooh. Yeah, I definitely want to make one of these.
And he wants it as
So if anyone has any, God, my leg, falling asleep. If anyone has any good suggestions, like if anyone watches this after the fact, if anyone has any good suggestions of 3D printers, or if you have some experience with any of the ones I mentioned, or if you have any information, my email should be right down here. The Adventure Builder Movie at gmail.com, which was originally just an email to take questions about the movie, but now it's just my normal email. Anyway, please feel free to share any information with me. That would be great. Oh, Mr. Landfill says niece and nephew. Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah. My sister's children is your niece and nephew, right? Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go do some work on the campground that will hopefully be ready for next May 3rd, the week of May 3rd, so we can have Adventure Builder meetings then, if anyone wants to come to Panama, Bocas del Toro-ish, Panama. Anyway, I've been watching you for 12 years. Love your videos. Well, thanks, man. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Everyone have an excellent morning or